Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a topic that can make or break even the most brilliant businesses: scaling up. You know, it's that incredibly exciting, but also kinda terrifying leap from a scrappy startup to a real force in your industry. It's also super dangerous. So let's get into the strategic framework that can help you make that jump without crashing and burning. So let's start with a big question. Is your business actually ready to grow, or is it maybe just ready to break? And look, that's not just some philosophical question. The answer, your real answer, is what determines whether you're about to write an amazing success story or, well, a cautionary tale. To get through this, we're going to use a really powerful tool, a strategic blueprint. We're going to cover the scaling paradox, lay out your actual blueprint, talk about building the growth engine, figure out the fuel and funds, and then chart your next steps. Think of us as architects for a minute. We're planning a skyscraper. You need a solid foundation if you want it to last, right? It's the same idea here. Okay, first up, let's talk about this weird paradox that pretty much every successful founder hits. It's this dangerous trap that can take your biggest win and turn it into your worst nightmare. You've probably heard someone say, "Oh, that's a good problem to have." But let me tell you, when it comes to scaling, that good problem can turn into a full-blown catastrophe, like overnight. All of a sudden, that success you fought so hard for is the very thing threatening to burn your entire company to the ground. So, how do you actually avoid that disaster? Well, you start with a solid blueprint. And that blueprint really begins by answering two simple but absolutely critical questions before you even think about hitting the accelerator. And just to be clear, this is not just another to-do list. It's a real strategic plan that becomes the bedrock for your entire scaling journey. And just like building that skyscraper, you absolutely need a rock-solid foundation to support the kind of massive growth you're shooting for. So the very first step is getting super specific about your goals. See, growth by itself isn't a destination. It's just this vague wish that can lead you way off course. Instead of just wanting more, you need a target you can actually measure. So I want to grow my business becomes something like, I want to double my user base in the next 6 months. See the difference? So what's your specific goal? Are you trying to smash a huge revenue milestone by the end of the year? Or maybe you're racing to launch in a new country before your competition gets there. Whatever it is, you have to be crystal clear on what you're doing and by when. And this slide really says it all. Look at the difference here. On one side, you've got a business that's in control, in the driver's seat. They have a destination and a map. On the other side, it's chaos. It's a business that's basically lost in the woods, just hoping it stumbles onto the right path while putting out fires left and right. Okay, so once you know exactly where you're going, it's time to get brutally honest about where you're starting from. What's working? What's not? You have to look in the mirror and be real with yourself if you actually want this to work. This is where you really need to dig in. For example, let's say you're running an e-commerce site. Can your shipping setup handle 10 times the orders right now? If the answer is, no, well, you've just found a weak link. And that's something you have to fix before you pour fuel on the fire. All right, now that you've got a clear picture of your starting point and you've identified those cracks in the foundation, it's time to get to the fun part, building the actual engine that's going to power all this growth. These right here, these are those cracks we were just talking about. These are the things that will grind your business to a halt. It's the manual stuff that eats up everyone's time, the tech from 5 years ago that's slowing you down, or the support team that's just totally overwhelmed. And here's the game plan. It's a clear, step-by-step process for turning those weaknesses into strengths. For instance, if your customer support is drowning, maybe you bring in a chatbot to handle the easy, common questions. That one little upgrade frees up your people to focus on the really tough, high-value problems. You know, part of building this engine is being smart about where you put your energy, because you just can't do everything at once. For example, if you're a software company, you might decide that the biggest bang for your buck is focusing 100% on improving the core product for 6 months, instead of trying to expand into new markets. That's a real strategic choice. Okay, so you've designed this killer engine. Now it's time to gas it up and get ready for the road trip. In this next part, we're going to talk about how you actually power your growth and, navigate all the potholes you're definitely going to hit along the way. Let's be real. Customers are your fuel. And one way to find more of them is to get creative. I mean, you could team up with another business that sells to the same people you do and cross-promote. Or maybe you launch a referral program that actually gets your current customers excited to spread the word for you. Now, when it comes to the money side of things, you need a number, a real clear target. A number like this one becomes your North Star. It's the thing that guides literally every financial decision you make while you're trying to scale. And once you have that clear financial target, you can start divvying up your resources with intention. For example, if your number one goal is to double your user base, well, it makes perfect sense to pour a bigger chunk of your budget into marketing and advertising to make that happen. And finally, you have to be ready for things to go wrong, because they will. What happens if your main supplier just disappears, or a hot new competitor shows up with a better product? You have to have backup plans, contingency plans, ready to go for these kinds of real-world risks. So, you've got your blueprint, you've built your engine, you've got your fuel. Now it's finally time to hit the road. In this last section, let's talk about how to actually chart your course and turn this whole plan into a reality. This is where the rubber meets the road. You get super specific and turn the plan into concrete actions. So a vague idea like, I want to hire more people, becomes, I will hire a new head of marketing by the end of Q1. It's real, you can measure it, and it has a deadline. And that really brings us to the key question that I want to leave you with. What is one specific action you can take, like today, to start building a business that's ready to scale? Because remember, it's not just about getting bigger, it's about getting smarter. And that is the real secret to scaling without breaking.